having some issues. So we're just gonna get back to where we're at. Um, I know I lost everyone in the previous stream. If I hope you guys can hop back on. I had to take care of something. I apologize for that. So we're gonna do this again. Um, so again, the content of this live stream, vertical live stream. So vertical live stream has limitations from a regular live stream. Um, the content of this is what's the best branch in the military and why. Sorry for everyone I just lost, who were just in the previous vertical. Um, Hopefully, Mrs. Contrarian can jump back on and help me out with the moderation. If not, we're just going to do this another day because I know I lost pretty much everyone. So again, I'm sorry about that. I had to take care of something really quick, and the vertical live stream, it had just been awkward trying to keep that on while I had to do that. Like I said, if it's a regular live stream, I can just go off and put on something while I go off in the background, do what I have to do, and come back. But vertical live stream is Canal. I already told you, so you're gone from my channel permanently, you little asshat. So what's up, Livy? Don't worry about him. He's gone from the channel completely. Killer Zone, hey, what's up? Again, guys, I want to apologize. I just was doing a vertical live stream and I had to cut it short to take care of something. I apologize again for that abrupt ending to that, but had to do something. It happens. That's the nature of doing stuff live, right? Especially when you live when you have other people that that you have to take care of. You said you like to hair. I'm not sure what you meant. So in any case, would you continue to date a chick if you found she was setting up dates with other guys on Hinge? Is that considered cheating? That's a question for another day and another time, my friend. Today's stream is about what branch of the military is best and why. That's why I'm wearing my army greens and have my dog tags out, which I rarely ever do. All right. But and I'm not someone who would try to give relationship advice. There's way too many content creators who try to give out relationship advice and they have no background in psychology to be offering their advice. I do actually have a background in psychology, which is why I'm more tepid in giving out such advice, because I realize there's a lot to it. And just armchair giving out advice is usually a bad idea unless you actually have a consultation with that person and actually know what's going on. Marines, okay. So good. We're back into the military stuff. So I'm gonna just rehash what I was saying in the previous vertical, since like I said, I lost a lot of people and I don't know if I'm going to get them back, and if they do come back, great. They won't have to hear it again. But where do you get free advice? Depends on what type of advice you're seeking. Relationship advice is not going to, when it comes to relationship advice, everyone has opinions, and most of those opinions aren't from an informed view. If you want advice about relationships from someone who's informed on the matter, it's going to cost you, whether you're going to a counselor, whether you're talking to a relationship coach, whether you're getting online therapy, all those sorts of things is probably going to come out of your pocket. So, and like I said, I wouldn't be able to give advice on something that I don't really know much about, and to know more about it would take us too far askew from the point of this vertical live stream, which is just simply talking about Marines and I mean, sorry, military. Freudian slip there, but no, just talking about which branch of the military is best and why. And I was just saying in the previous one, yeah, my internet just yeah, pretty much my internet had a just slipped, and then I also had to go take care of something when that happened. So that's why it took me a few minutes to get back on. Head over pills is talking about the Buffs again, and I think someone said he's actually talking about a college team, not the New York Buffalo Bills. So okay, as long as he's not being disrespectful to anyone, I have no problem with him cheering on his team. Um, and I know TK9 said the Marines are obviously the best. Are they though? Maybe, maybe not. Like I said, I'm prior service Army, so for me, it's the best. And I said the reasons why. I'll just restate them again since that vertical, I had to delete that vertical live stream as it was interrupted. I would say it's the Army's the oldest branch, being established in 1775 with the Colonial Army. Um, it's the biggest branch of the military, gets which is why it also gets the most funding and the most state of the art weaponry. Usually the Marines get out hand me downs, which is actually says a lot about the Marines that they can get out hand me downs and do a bang up job, arguably a better job than we do. And I'm gonna get into some of the differences between Marine infantry and Army infantry, which I think are both the backbones of the Army and the Marines. Particularly the Marines, I think every Marine is at some level an infantry grunt, whereas in the Army, we're all supposed to be soldiers, but let's be frank, not every one of us can function in that capacity, even though we are supposed to do so. Um, but yeah, it's the oldest branch, the biggest branch, receives the most funding. It offers the most job opportunities of all the other branches, and they can hold those. They can hold those training, those schools of training for you when you go away to boot camp. The other ones can't guarantee you that, and I was saying that was something that kind of sealed the deal for me, because originally I went to enlist as in the Air Force, and because I had a pretty high ASVAB score, they tried to keep me from switching over to Army, holding up my paperwork, but it eventually didn't work, and I got to switch to Army. I chose cable and telephone installation and maintaining. I don't know why, to be honest. Well, I know why, because when I was at the MEP station, the military entrance and processing station, the MEPS, I was with the person who lets you select your jobs, your MOS, and which stands for military occupational specialty. And he allowed me to call my father while I was selecting the jobs and talk about which ones that were there. He was the one who warned me. He said, you don't want combat engineer. He said, you're just gonna be building a bunch of bridges and shit. I'm like, oh, okay, I'm not doing that, because it sounded cool the way it sounds, combat engineer. Like that sounds dope, right? Don't do that. uh, and I almost the one I first almost selected, the recruiter there actually told me not to take it, which was Russian interrogator. So when you do anything involving languages, you have to take this this made up test in the military to test your ability to learn a language very quickly. And allegedly, you had to score at least 95% on it to pass it. Otherwise, if you don't, whatever MOS, whatever job you selected under that needed that language test for you to pass, you wouldn't be able to receive it and be forced to do something else, whatever's available at the time. I've had a friend tell me that's not true, but because the guy told me that, I was like, all right. He was like, plus, he said, as an interrogator, he said, I'm gonna be honest. He said, you don't have to. he said you're gonna have to basically like torture people. I'm like, damn, okay, nah, I don't want that. So I ended up doing cable installation because my father said, oh, that's involved in communications and satellites and stuff like that. Yeah, not really. Cable and installation 30, it was called 31 Lima at the time. Is that job designation, the MOS classification has been changed in 2006 when across the army they reclassified a bunch of their different occupational specialties, except for some of the long standing ones like the 11 series. The 11 series are all like the combat related ones. They didn't change, as did a bunch of other ones, but many of the other combat support positions were reclassified in 2006, the year after I came out. And my MOS was one of those that changed. So it used to be called 31 Lima. Now I forget what it is, but it was basically the Army's version of Verizon or Comcast. Like that's basically what we did. At least on the that's what we did on the side where in we're not in the field. In the field, it can be quite different. We can still do that stuff, but there was also like a component of it that dealt with like decrypting and encrypting like um, intelligence signals. So we all had to have a high level security clearance to undergo that position. That was the only, looking at it now, that was really the only benefit out of it, was having that security clearance at the time. But um, yeah, so for me, Army was the best for those things I've just said. It's the first branch of the U.S. military. It's the biggest. It's the most well funded. It offers the most variation in job positions that you could want, which can translate to doing something on the civilian side. And another thing that I didn't mention here, but I mentioned in the previous live stream that I had to stop, was that it has the most special ops teams as well. Not that I've ever done spec ops, but they have the most spec ops teams. And there's only, I believe what I believe there's only 5 tier 1 units in the military, at least known tier 1 units, and the Army has 3 of them. 3 of them. So that's pretty good stuff. Now let me get to the comments, because I'm sorry, since I ended that last live stream, I want to get back to everyone's comments. Arctic YT says, keep up the good work. I just subbed. Thank you, Arctic YT. I appreciate it a lot. Livy says, up. Yu-Gi-Oh says, are you familiar with combat sambo? I haven't studied sambo, but yes, I know what sambo is. I was thinking of maybe getting a little instruction in it when I go to, I have a friend in Uzbekistan, and I can't remember. I think he said they're big in doing sambo over there in Uzbekistan, so I might do it while I'm there, because usually every country that I visit, I always want to take whatever's the biggest national martial art there. And I think he said it was sambo. It was either sambo or I don't think it was Brazilian jiu-jitsu or wrestling. I do believe it was sambo. So I do plan on taking that when I go to visit him in Uzbekistan. TK9 says, my grandpa was Air Force and flew 50 missions in the B-17. Whoa. But I don't know if Air Force gets put in a shot like that anymore. I give Air Force is their due credit. Like, they're a common, but we all know they're a common insult, like, for folks, like, yeah, in the Army, like when you have your hands in your service pants, they was like, what you got Air Force pockets? So you're not supposed to have your hands in your pockets. Say, oh, you got Air Force pockets, huh? So yeah, I mean, it's a lot of punching down with the Air Force, but I give them their credit. Like I said, I first tried to enlist with them. The reason being, and this is why people might argue Air Force is the best. One, they um people like they have the highest criteria for ASVAB scores. And when I talk about ASVAB score, I'm talking specifically about the AFQT, which is the Armed Forces Qualifying Test. It's actually an IQ test built into the ASVAB. It's called the AFQT, but it's not. The purpose of the IQ test isn't to see how far someone can maximize the IQ, um, as like the Stanford Binet test is. Instead, it's just trying to get an overall assessment of your cognitive ability. So they require the highest AFQT score of all the branches in the military, and the Air Force is the only branch that has their own junior college, um, as part of their branch. Like the other branches will allow you to go to college, while you're while you're active duty, but they have their own. The Air Force has their own junior college, and their housing their housing is better than all the other branches. So as a matter of fact, when an airman is stationed, um, at the you know on the post or base of another branch, they get a higher housing allowance because of that, because those other branches don't conform to their standards. So that's the argument to say the Air Force is the best, right? Uh, TK9 also goes on to say all my friends that went Army or Air Force stayed in after 4 years. All my friends that went Marines or Navy got out after 4 years. It's and I know why, because one of the reasons is they're slow to make rank in the Marines and Navy as compared to the Army and Air Force. You make rank quicker in in the Army and I think Air Force as well. Like it's hard getting up to E4 and beyond that in the Navy. Like I hear people in the Navy complain about that. Like someone that I do some life coaching with off and on, she's been complaining that she wants to become an E5 and she doesn't have the time to do the training to become an E5 and become an NCO, because they don't call it sergeant, they call it um I can't remember. Someone who was in Marines or Navy can tell me what the E5 ranking is for Navy, but I forgot. Um, but yeah, they make rank much slower, and then then a lot of times the people who are Marines who end up staying in the military, they often do a lateral transfer over to the Army so they can not come out of the service being E4. They don't want to be that E4 mafia for life. They try to make rank get up to E5, E6 before they leave the military and get all that, get as many benefits as they can. It's rough. Like um Navy has its benefits, but making rank isn't one of them. So that's why you see a lot of them don't will do their 4 years and leave, or they'll do their 4 years and then re-enlist in another branch of the military. Chase, I appreciate the love, brother. Thank you. Chase goes on to say, oh, and with the military thing, probably going to say the Navy SEALs. Laugh out loud, assuming they come from special forces of the Navy. I don't know. I love all the branches of the military. Yeah, so Navy SEALs are uh, part of special operations, and the Navy has a Tier 1 unit as well, which used to be called SEAL Team 6, but now they call them DevGru. Um, and yeah, you can't take away from them. Navy SEALs. There's several teams that make up the Navy SEALs, and yes, they are definitely about that. Interesting fact: you don't have to be from the Navy to, well, most, except for the Marine Special Forces, which are called Marine Raiders. Most of all the other special forces, you don't have to be from that branch to join their special operations team. And the ones who are considered the very tip of the spear, Delta Force, which is, well, most people call them Delta Force, but they refer to themselves as CAG, CAG. Um, they they not only take anyone from any branch of the military, but you don't even have to come from a previous background in the tier two special forces units, or even infantry. Like if you show that you have an ability that can add to their mission, and you can make it through their assessment, then they'll take you on. Only the Delta Force does that, which again is my reason. Like, and that's Army, so that's another reason to say Army is the best, because like I said, we have 3 tier 1 units, not just one, and it's only 5 tier 1 units within the whole military. But currently, the Space Force is the only one without a special operations, but that's because Space Force will never see deployment in the field anyway, because their field is outer space. So most of them will never see deployment. For some people, that might be a plus. And there's a reason people might argue Space Force is the best. We can get into all of those debates. CC Motion 1998 says, can you combine a Philly shell and a peekaboo boxing style? I mean, yes and no. Do you mean, can you practice both of them while sparring and competing? Yes. But is it would it be a good strategy to move between them when fighting? I'm not so sure about that, because they both have their strengths and weaknesses, and I'm not sure if you can develop efficiency in both of them. For my Personally, I prefer the peekaboo style just because Mike Tyson made it so good, and I think I like the way that I like that the defense is based on constant head movement. However, the peekaboo style might is bad for people who do like kickboxing and particularly Muay Thai, because all that head movement and bobbing can leave you vulnerable for like knee butts. But if we're just talking pure boxing, I like the peekaboo style better. And I think whichever this those styles are gonna probably be dependent on the skills of the practitioner. So some people may be more well suited to a Philly shell. Some might be more well suited to a peekaboo style. Some may be more well suited to just like a orthodox stance. Um, some might do well to incorporate the Dutch so-called Dutch kickboxing style, which is just a variation of Muay Thai, where they carry a high guard. So it depends. I think you can combine them, but not at the same time. Like if you're doing one, you can't do the other. If you know what I'm saying. Like within an individual fight, yeah, you can. It may be a good strategy to switch from one to the other, but you're not gonna do them at the same time. I don't think. You'll have to ask a boxing coach, because that is not my arena of expertise. I know a functional level of boxing that I can teach folks and that I utilize, but I wouldn't be able to say which would be if that would be a good strategy in combining both the Philly shell and peekaboo boxing. Like I said, I do both, but not at the same time. I usually just do that while I'm practicing solo, but I haven't done it while sparring, like switch from a Philly style, from the Philly shell to peekaboo. I might try it now that you mentioned it, just out of curiosity, just to see if if that might bewilder my opponent. So I might try that out, and I'll get back to you on it. Anyway, back to military. Natasha asks if you had one thing to watch for your whole life, would it be anime? No. Anime is great. I love anime. Um, if you haven't seen any of my other content, I've talked about anime before, but no, too much anime I don't think is healthy because I think some of those weeaboos who watch nothing but anime are socially awkward. Angel Holds as Family Matters or Cosby Show, which sitcom is more nostalgic? Definitely, easily Family Matters. How you gonna answer your own question? For me, Cosby Show. Family Matters was a little cheesy. Like, plus, family members just kept disappearing without any freaking explanation whatsoever. At least on Cosby Show, when people disappeared, you knew they actually gave a reason when that cast member left. I mean, they gave a reason within the show for why the actual cast member left the show, not revealing what happened to the actual actor, but what happened to the character that the actor portrayed on the show. You didn't get anything like that on Family Guy. I mean, sorry, Family Matters. Like when the sister Judy, I think that was her name, Judy, left the show. She just walked up the steps one day and you never saw her again. And she wasn't the only one. Then then the aunt disappeared, and so her son was still living there. What was even weird was the son disappeared. I think they did explain it that he went to go stay with his mom or something like that. But it was weird that the 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 nephew disappeared, but his friends were still coming over the house. Like, why is his friend still coming to the house when he's no longer there? That was weird. Um, I think I don't know if the grandmother passed away or I don't think she was on the last few seasons either. The grandmother wasn't there, and I don't think she passed away on the show. Like the actual actress, she was still alive, and I think she's still alive now, but she just went away. And then the funny thing is, Family Matters was originally about the mother. The mother, the Family Matters was a spinoff from the sitcom Perfect Strangers, and the mother was originally um, a side character on Perfect Strangers, and then they did a spinoff show, Family Matters, about her family, and then she wasn't even really the focus of the show. Urkel was. So whatever. But for me, it's Cosby Show. Cosby Show was better. It it showed the black middle class before like we really saw that on TV, because before that everything else was like struggle comedy, like uh, um, Good Times. I hated Good Times. Benson was okay, but that wasn't really like a black sitcom. Um, then you had a bunch of other ones, but they were all Sanford and Son. All those were like black struggle comedies. I couldn't relate to that. So I could relate to Cosby because it was about a middle class family and it normalized going to college. So especially with the spinoff A Different World. So because of that, regardless of Cosby's later impropriety, I'm always gonna love the Cosby Show and the spinoff A Different World because it normalized the black middle class and it normalized going to college. And that's always gonna be my so for that I'm always gonna see those as my favorite. All right, so back to military. So TK9 says I always wanted to take the ASVAB. You can. I think you can take it online, or you can go. I don't know your age, but you can go to a recruiter, and because you're required to take an ASVAB when you are potentially enlisting anyway. So you can take an ASVAB. We took it in high school. Like uh, a lot of the public high schools or maybe even middle schools, like you could take a junior ASVAB test, and that once you did, you start having recruiters calling you up and stuff, asking if you would be interested in the military. I took one when I was 15, I think, like when I was in the 10th grade. I took a ASVAB, and like I took the ASVAB, and I took the junior the the PSATs. So I took both of those like back to back back then. So you can take Avid, and they have them online that you can take too. TRW, what's up? You back? JB says I'll give you $1 for every pull up you can do. I'm on a vertical live stream, so I can't hold. Vertical live stream is when you're using the phone to do your live stream, so I can't do pull ups while I'm doing a vertical live stream because I had someone 3 days ago tell me to do as many push-ups as I can. I was like, I can't do push-ups doing a vertical live stream because I'm physically holding the phone as I do it, and I don't have Mrs. Contrarian to hold it for me. So I'm sorry. Um, Maybe I'll just do a video and separately, and you guys can judge for yourselves. But I can't really do it on the live stream. But if you can donate to the Cash App, JB. I would highly appreciate it. And like I said, if you donate to the Cash App, I'll do a video just for you showing me doing pull-ups. Okay. Mind you, Army doesn't even do pull-ups. That's another edge the Marines has. Actually, no, I take that back. They do it now. The current PT test, or they call it the Army Combat Fitness Test. They do pull-ups now. Or no, I'm sorry, they scrapped that because women couldn't handle it. And I think you only had to do one damn pull-up, and people were complaining, so Congress told them they had to fix the combat fitness test, or they would have to go back to the classical fitness test, the PT, the APFT that we did, which was just how many push-ups you can do in 2 minutes, how many sit-ups you can do in 2 minutes, and a 2-mile run. So now it's more comprehensive than that. But because a lot of women couldn't do a pull-up, they decided to scrap that. And it was literally, I think, only one pull-up you had to do to qualify at the time. So I think they replaced that with like planks or something. So you say you knew one dude who stayed in the Navy and made SWIC but still didn't stay. It could just be the lifestyle too. Some people, because like I know one thing is that most of the best jobs are when you're on the ships, and a lot of people don't want that. Because I remember when I first entertained doing the Navy when I was 17, I asked them, "Well, are there jobs where you don't have to be on board the ship?" And they was like, "Yeah, there's several." But from what I hear, those are all like whack jobs. So I don't know if that's true or not, but a lot of people think the best ones are the best MOS positions in the Navy are usually the ones on while you're stationed on a ship, and that may not be everyone's cup of tea. I can't say. Maritime, that sort of maritime duty is not for everyone. Left after a year. What? Who did you delete, Mrs. Contrarian? I didn't see. And thanks for coming back, Mahal. By the way, Rebecca Corden. What was she saying? Chase Johnson says Mike or Jake. Lost me. Wise up 786 says how to be more accurate with less dominant hand. So we're back to martial arts. Where were you guys yesterday with these questions? How to be better with less dominant hand? Practice with it. So here's a very good example of that. So in John Fan Jeet Kune Do, which is Bruce Lee's system, the dominant stance is the southpaw stance, because Bruce believed that your strongest side should always face forward your opponent. And since most people are right-handed, you adopt a southpaw stance where most of your techniques come from your right hand and your right leg. However, because most people are right-handed, it feels awkward fighting from a southpaw stance, because most people who are trained in boxing and other martial arts take a left lead stance and use their their right hand as their power hand. So to learn how to use, so then they have to kind of train themselves to use their left hand in the way they would normally use their right hand in the orthodox stance. And it just takes a lot of repetition and drilling. That's pretty much it. Because for most people, unless you're already left-handed like I am, doing a southpaw stance is going to be awkward. But in John Fanchi Kundo, you're required to fight from the southpaw stance, which is the JKD lead by Jong stance. So to answer your question, to get better with a less dominant hand, you just gotta practice with it a lot. Do a lot of drills. Repeat, 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 repeat. Okay. Yu-Gi-Oh says the best martial arts, in my opinion, is wrestling and judo. So this was the discussion yesterday. Judo, no. Judo is one of my favorite styles since that was the very first martial art that I learned. But judo and wrestling are not the same. I think the I think the average wrestler will beat the average judoka. Um, but I like judo. Big Beard said crushing a 3 mile, had to hop in the live stream for a minute. What's up, Blackbeard? I'm glad you back, buddy. I see you still getting in those that mileage. That's what's up. I know you were doing some wind sprints yesterday, so you mix it up between like a long run and sprints. That's what's up. Kevin Mack is your handsome man. Well, appreciate it. Um, Mrs. Contrarian certainly thinks so. Angel Ho says no. She passed in 2002. Rosetta Leonore. Yep, that's her name. But in 1998, Family Matters ended. Yeah. Wait. I thought it ended like in like 99 to 2000. I don't remember it. The show, like I had stopped watching it back in like the mid 90s. So when it ended, I only caught like a few episodes when I just saw that Laura and Steve had actually got together, and he no longer had to be Stefan Urkel to be with her, which was crazy anyway. Like, what kind of message was that sending to young men, or young women for that matter, that in order to be with someone you have to completely change who you are. He was a nerd, and he was a smart guy. Maybe yeah, he was a little socially awkward, but the fact that he had to completely change who he was to please her was that sent the wrong message to me. So that's never going to be better than the Cosby Show. So Julio said the Howard Stern show had me in tears. I don't really watch it. It's still on XM, right? And I know he has a podcast on YouTube, but I don't really watch it that much, except when it's like except when it's mentioned on like another YouTube channel that I watch, because they'll have like people that come on to Howard Stern show who I have an interest in and might have an interest with those YouTubers. That's the only time I really hear about what's going on his show. Uh, Demandi J says Dwayne Wayne. Yeah, Different World was a fantastic show. Yeah, like I said, I'm always gonna love A Different World. Like, matter of fact, like you can watch it today and it still holds up. Plus, like I said, for me as a black kid, it normalized black kids going to college. There was no there was no other shows out in the 80s or 90s, and definitely not the 70s, that normalized black kids going to college, much less showing black people living coming from the middle class. Like everything from the 70s and early 80s, except for the Cosby Show, always had black people struggling. Like I said, Sanford and Son and Good Times. Good Times was so horrible that that could be a whole discussion in itself. But yeah, Different World is always going to be great to me. I even oh, I even had bought the flip up shades that Dwayne Wayne had back then. I remember I had on my I had bought those, and I went to my cousin's house who lived in and what's the city right outside of Virginia Beach? Starts with an N, like close to the naval base. Um, I remember I went out there, and all his boys was like, "Oh snap, he got the Dwayne Wayne joints." He was like, "Oh, he's like," they was like, "Your cousin is cool." So I was feeling myself back then. I had my Dwayne Wade shades on, had my little my little striped shirt and Bugle Boys, had my little box fade. So I was definitely inspired by Dwayne Wayne. Hillman College. And, Hillman College was filmed at what's the university in Atlanta? It was like, it was supposed to be sort of like a bit like Howard University, and a bit like um what's the university in Virginia? Because it's when people say we're the real HU. I don't want to get into that conversation today. But it was filmed on it was actually filmed on the all girl university in Atlanta. I forgot the name of the HBCU. Hugio says the U.S. Army don't do pull-ups. No, now they do, but when I'm talking about the classical PT that I came under in the late '90s, it was push-ups, pull-ups, and a 2 mile run. Whereas the Marines was pull-ups, push-ups, pull-ups, sit-ups, and a 3 mile run. That's why the Marines has always joked with the Army, saying Army stands for ain't ready for Marines yet. So one of my friends came up with an insult for them. He's like, all right, y'all say we're not ready for Marines yet. He said, well, you know what Marine stands for? He said muscles are required, intelligence not expected. But it's all to be frank, it's all love between both of those guys, and that their Army infantry and Marine infantry are very similar in both structure and capability. Their missions are a bit different, though. The difference is supposedly the U.S. Army infantry is a occupying force. The U.S. Marine infantry is an invading force. So the difference in the mission is that, say, the Marine infantry will go and be sent to like clear out an enemy, and then the Army infantry will come in to hold that space after they've done it from the enemies. So that's an overgeneralization of the difference in the missions of Army infantry and Marine infantry. But as far as capability and structure, they're very similar. YouTube commenter says, "Hey, you're almost at 1,000." I know, right? But I still have to have enough watchable hours to get monetized. So that's why I've been doing these live streams to get those hours in. That's why I'm doing these, because the YouTube shorts aren't going to give me as much watchable hours as like live streams, and YouTube loves live streams. They like the YouTube shorts too because they want to compete with TikTok and Instagram, but their bread and butter are the live streams. So that's where I'm going to get the most watchable hours. So that's what I'm doing. And the vertical live stream allows you to do that with a lot less setup. So that's what's up. Chase Johnson, a boxing fight, Mike Tyson or Jake Paul. So after this live stream, can you do me a favor and go check out the video I did on that? I actually did an entire video giving my opinion. This is what I'm going to say about that. I love Mike Tyson. That's my favorite boxer in the world, next to both Muhammad Ali and Sugar Ray Leonard. Those are like my three favorite boxers, along with some of the more recent guys like Sugar Shane Mosley and some other folks I can mention. But um, I think he's doing this fight just as a good payoff. Jake Paul is very good in paying the people that he fights. I think he respects the game more than people will realize it. Because it's easy to dump on Jake Paul, and I dump on him too. But one thing I will give him is I think he does really respect the the boxing industry itself and the fighters, including the MMA guys. I think they've gotten a lot of them fight with him because he gives them the best fighting purse that they've ever seen. especially those former UFC fighters. Dana White doesn't, what's his name, Dana White, Dana Bash, whatever, Dana White, he doesn't pay them very well. Um, and one fight with Jake Paul can have them set, but I don't think those are serious fights. I don't think, despite what Jake Paul and Mike Tyson have claimed, I don't think this is going to be a fight where someone's going to get knocked out, unless Mike Tyson forgets his meds, which I hope he does. And it's genius. They're putting this on Netflix, so pretty much everyone can watch this. It's not going to be a pay-per-view fight. It's going to be a Netflix fight. This is a genius marketing with both Netflix and between Jake Paul and Mike Tyson. It's genius. Do I think this is going to be a real fight? No. Well, real fight as in so far as I don't think it's going to be a knockdown, drag down fight. No. But I think they will really fight, but it's not going to be a knockdown, drag down fight. I think that both Jake Paul and his brother probably have the people they fight sign NDAs that they won't actually hurt them. And how I personally think it's going to end in a draw, the same way the Mayweather fight happened with his brother. It ended up in a draw, and then Mayweather, being who he is, went on Instagram the very next day of that fight saying this was the easiest money that I ever made, and laughing at people saying all y'all mad because y'all expected like this to be like a serious fight. And I think that's the exact same thing that's going to happen with this Jake Paul and Mike Tyson fight. They're going to slug it out a little bit, but don't expect either one of them to be getting knocked down. First of all, Mike Tyson is a legend. Jake Paul respects him as a legend, so he's not going to try to tarnish that man's fighting career by knocking him out at the end stage of his boxing career as it is now. And Tyson, for on his side of the things, I think that he's not going to just straight up knock out Jake Paul because this is the guy who's offering him a huge fighting purse, and there might be some sort of NDA attached to that fighting purse that he's not going to get X amount of money if he tries to make Jake Paul look too bad during this fight. I don't know. Then others are saying Jake Paul has the edge because Mike Tyson is an old man now. He's not what we think about him back in the early 90s. I don't know. All I can say is I predict it's going to be a draw. That's my prediction. Cupcake the Destroyer says, yo, what's up, Cupcake? Say, yo, chat is talking to other dudes on a dating app while in a relationship considered it is talking to other dudes on a dating app while in a relationship considered cheating, asking for a friend. Look at it. Here's how you can answer. Anytime you want to know, is it cheating or is it not cheating? Look at it this way. And I'm a flawed individual myself. If your partner, if you knew your partner was doing it, would you consider that cheating or inappropriate? If so, you shouldn't do it yourself for your friend. DC and Marvel Maniacs says all love, but look like gay Dave Chappelle. Whatever. I don't think I look like Dave Chappelle, but usually people say I look like Don Cheadle. I don't see the Dave Chappelle look. And I'm definitely not gay. Like literally my wife is the moderator on this live stream. So Marion Omar is answering TK9 about the whole cheating thing. I won't go into all of that. But if we can get back on topic, guys. So the original topic again was which branch of the military is best and why. I said for my part, I think the Army is the best, which is why I'm wearing my Army greens today and why I got my dog tags out. And I think TK9 is trying to mac on Marion. Do what you do, Playboy. um, YGGDRSL says Jake Paul is a trash person. Again, I'm not going to disagree that he and his brother are not the greatest of folks. And I forgot which one of them started on Disney. Was it both of them or was it Jake Paul? I know one of them started on Disney, but they're not great folks. But hey, there's a lot of boxers that are trash people in real life, like Mayweather. So boxers aren't always known for having the most stellar of personalities. The ones who have been like cool people, um, you know, that's good, but it wasn't necessary for them to be good fighters. Like being a good fighter and being a good person don't always overlap. Marion, I thought y'all were having a connection, Marion. But I appreciate you for being on the chat, by the way. C.D. Johnson said, "How old are you, boy?" First of all, I'm not a boy, I'm a man, and I'm in my 40s. Razor Wise says, "Hey man, hope you're in good health and in good spirits, spreading positivity. Hope everyone here is feeling good and is doing well, including but not limited to you. Thank you, I appreciate it, Razor Wire. Hope you're doing well as well, sir." Chase Burr says, "Big bear pocket bullies." What? Kennels in the house. I don't know what that is. Tony TKN says, "Hi from the UK." What's up, Tony? I do get a lot of folks from the UK from time to time that watch my content, so I always appreciate it. I even did a video where I just did a shout out to everyone from the British Isles. Razor Wise says, "From my perspective, Air Force is the best, and that's no disrespect to you. Without anyone of the team playing, the whole mission fails. I respect the Army, Navy, and everyone else." Oh, that's yeah. I don't take it as like you. I don't think you were on the stream earlier, but I said there's an argument that you could say the Air Force is the best. I said because let's face it, they're the brightest of all the branches, right? They require the highest ASVAB score of all the branches. Maybe Space Force does now, but I'm talking about when I went in, Air Force took the highest ASVAB score, and Space Force's requirements are pretty much the same as Air Force since they were formerly a branch of the Air Force. Uh, and But yeah, they're the bright. They happen to be the brightest. They have the highest standards when it comes to military housing, because military housing in the Army has been. You can ask some veterans. They have some horror stories about housing while in the Army. Um, but because of that, when an airman is, as I mentioned earlier, when an airman is stationed on the field, on the post or the base of another branch, say Army, Navy, they actually get a higher housing allowance because of it, because those other branches don't conform to their higher standards for housing. So they get a higher housing allowance if they're stationed somewhere off an Air Force base. And like I know a lot of Army folks that said their food is better in the Air Force. So maybe, but I'm not going to diss Army cooks because I've actually defended them in a previous YouTube short and said that they're very underappreciated and they're often, the common butt of jokes. But Army cooks do a bang up job with sometimes what they're given. But also, Air Force is the only branch that has their own junior college. Like all the other branches will allow you to undergo college while you're active duty, but they're the only ones that actually have their own college as part of the benefits for being in the Air Force. No other branch can beg that. So that's why I say arguably you can say the Air Force is the best, But just for me, the Army is the best because, as I said earlier, it's the first and oldest branch of the U.S. military. It's the biggest. It's the most well funded. They offer the most variety of jobs out of all the branches, and they have the most special forces um, teams of all the branches, including the most tier one units of any military branch. So that's why I argue Army is the best. But like I said, there's an argument that any one of the other branches could be the best, and I think that it's probably going to depend on what a person's needs are to what they consider the best. Because like I said, you can say Air Force is the best. Some might say Marines are the best for other reasons. Some might say Navy are the best for some reasons. Some might say Coast Guard because we're forgetting Coast Guard here. Some say the Coast Guard might be the best for some reasons. Of course, we everyone in the military jokes around says the Coast Guard doesn't do anything, which actually is not true. Their mission is very important and they're shared between both the Defense Department and Homeland Security. So they have that dual mission, and of course their Space Force, which arguably people might say is the best because they're dealing with space and cyber warfare, which is like very 21st century sort of thing. So Tony Tikian says Lennox Lewis was the GOAT and he's a nice person, for example. Um, I've heard he's a nice guy. He's a he's brutal in the ring though, that's for sure. He's not a nice guy in the ring. Tore Mike Tyson up twice. Um, he his long jab had to answer for the peekaboo style that Mike Tyson has mastered. For the guy I was talking to earlier, who was asking me what was better, the Philly Shuffle, the Philly Shell, or the peekaboo style. I think the I think that Philly Shell might have been a better defense against Lennox Lewis aggressive style, where he utilizes that long jab, because Mike just didn't Mike just didn't have an answer for him when it came to the peekaboo style. Lennox Lewis could could eat him up with that jab. Um, but yeah, arguably you can say he's the GOAT. Just for me, it was Mike Tyson. CJ John says looking good for 40s. Appreciate it. KB says, what are you doing for Christmas next year? Huh? I have no idea. Like Christmas is not Christmas hasn't been big for me uh since I was a kid. Like by the time I turned 13, Christmas wasn't a big deal for me anymore. The best the best Christmas I had so far was the first the first Christmas I spent with my wife. It was so cool. So for folks who don't know, in the Philippines, so the Philippines is like a very Catholic nation. Like the only place that's more Catholic than the Philippines is the Vatican itself. As a matter of fact, those are the two places where you can, this don't allow divorce: the Philippines and the Vatican. Um, and so they celebrate Christmas hard. Like they call it the Burr months, from September to December. The Burr months, they just it's all Christmas like celebration starting in September, and it was just really fun spending time with my wife, who we were still newlywed at the time, and her having her family over our condo um, in Manila at the time, in this part of Manila called Mandaluyong. It's sort of like the shopping center of the whole Philippines. Like you'll find all the most you'll find the most malls within the country, all right there in Mandaluyong, including two of the largest malls in the country and some of the largest in the world, right? So you know, it was fun. Like even though it's hot outside, like everyone's celebrating Christmas. Um, and I had to like dig around for like some of the stuff that I would do here in America, like having like the stockings, because they that's not really a thing they do in the Philippines, is having the stockings. Mrs. Contrarian can tell me if I'm wrong here, because she is in the chat, um, moderating for me, but she Christmas was just really fun there. I would invite anyone who has the opportunity to go. The only problem is like Christmas is going to be hectic when you come there, like getting out of the airport, which is called Naya, the Ninoy, Aquinoy International Airport. That's the main airport of the Philippines in Manila, within Metro Manila, that is. And it's really hectic in that airport during Christmas time because you got a bunch of people who just surround the airport, trying to, trying to make themselves available to foreigners coming there. And then there's a bunch of people who are trying to find ways to get out of the Philippines as well. So it's really hectic out there, but it's so fun doing celebrating Christmas in the Philippines. That was my As an adult, that was my favorite Christmas. As a kid, I know you didn't ask me all this. I'm sorry. But as a kid, my favorite Christmas was I was at my best friend's house, and my kid sister was being born. So my mom had went into labor. So my parents brought me to my best friend's house to stay overnight to have Christmas there. I had no idea that they brought all my toys there, and so we're just excited about Christmas. We're like what 9 years old. Um, yeah, we were both 9 years old. We're just happy, just talking all night long about Christmas. Like, man, I wonder what sort of toys I'm gonna get and all that sort of stuff. I didn't think I was gonna get my toys that morning though, because, like I said, my mother and stepfather were at the hospital while my mom was in labor with my kid sister. Um, but she actually came back and didn't actually have my sister on until January 2nd. But she went into labor, like on the 24th of December, I think. And so, anyway, I didn't expect to get any toys that morning. I was surprised at all the stuff I had, and my friend and I got to compare what we got. like, oh, you got that transformer? I got this transformer, and that was like so fun. Then of course, we after you played with your toys, and kids get up like 5:30 in the morning to get to the Christmas tree. At least we did back then. And after that, we you know got like a big bowl of sugary breakfast cereal and start watching cartoons. So that was my favorite as a kid, and favorite as an adult was my first Christmas with my wife. So anyway, sorry for that long story, guys. CJ Johnson says Space Force is now the smartest. Probably. I think they're. I think as far as ASVAB, it's probably. I think Air Force and Space Force probably got the same ASVAB requirements. If someone wants to check and put it here in the chat, I appreciate it. But as far as I know, I think their ASVAB requirements are the same. But I think the type of job specifically that the Space Force offers will translate to good jobs in like IT or cybersecurity in the civilian world. Not to mention having those high level security clearances to have those civilian jobs as probably as like a contractor for the military or defense department. Tony TKN says, just tuned in. Which branch did you serve in? Thanks for your service, by the way. Vets deserve better treatment. I agree. So I was prior service in the Army, Tony. That's why I said that's for me was the best branch. And Captain America was from the Army too. So whereas the Punisher was from the Marines. So take that as you will. So Razor Wire says, looks like your eyes is black and blue if you're in the Army. I know you're okay. Just hope it doesn't hurt too much. I don't know. I haven't sparred any time recently, so my eyes aren't bruised, and I've gotten plenty of sleep today. Eric Lapointe, I just subscribed. I appreciate it, Eric. Thanks a lot, buddy. I appreciate everyone who's subscribed, who's liked the given a thumbs up. People who've hit the notifications or shared anything. I appreciate all of that, guys. It helps a lot with the algorithm and to get me monetized, because this is not yet monetized. I do predict probably by the end of this month it will be though. How do I sign up for the military? That's Are you in the military? I'm sorry. Are you in the US, Juice Dope? If you're in the US, very easy. Just recruiters are everywhere. Like I said, for most people coming out of public high schools, they came on. They would visit the schools and let people know that they were looking for capable people. So if you're in the U.S., you can literally just Google your local recruiter. As soon as you talk to them, they're going to be looking for you because right now recruitment is very down, very low in the U.S. So they're definitely looking for folks. Oh, you coming out of college? Oh, well, since you dropped out, you can't. I'm not. I don't think you can get commission, but you'll probably still make like maybe depending on which branch you're looking at, E3 or E4. So at least you won't come in as a E1 like I did. The bad thing is I came in as an E1 even with a year of college under my belt, but it wasn't enough. So I came in as an E1 at the very bottom. But like I said, unlike the Marines and Navy, you make rank really quick. So E1 from E2 is going to happen within less than a year. Then by the next year, you're in E3. So um, definitely just Google local recruiter. And I don't know which branch you're looking for. Are you looking for a particular branch? And mind you, there's other veterans in this chat room too, so they can definitely also give you vital information, probably even more than I can. Uh, what's the best branch to join in your opinion? See, that's the topic of this very conversation is what is the best branch and why. It depends on what you're looking for. So I said for me, it was the Army because they offer the most variety of jobs of all the branches. So um, if 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 you're looking for like a bunch of different job opportunities and don't have a particular thing that you're looking for yet, you might want to look into the Army. I mean, you can talk to all of them and just tell them basically you're just trying to get information, so they don't so they don't try to kind of push themselves onto you because recruiters can be aggressive, especially when it's time for them to hit that quota. I feel this, but let's see what time it is here, guys. 11 o'clock. Um, Tony TKN says seem like a chill dude. I sub. I appreciate it, Tony. It's 4 a.m. here, so take care, man. I'm going to Vegas this July, so I'm looking forward to visiting the U.S. for the first time. Always love the USA. Oh, I thought you were in the U.S. all this time. What? Um, okay, 4 a.m. Okay. Are you you're not in the UK, right? Um, but yeah, Juice Dope, just Google your local recruiter and that'll yeah from London. Okay, gotcha. And you going to Vegas? You're gonna have fun. Remember what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. I actually haven't been to Vegas yet. Well, I mean, I really didn't have any reason to. I have a friend that was living there, but he's just moved recently back to the Maryland, D.C. area. But he's been living out there for like the past 5 years, and he's liked it. But he was just saying it was getting. He was saying because of climate change, it was just the weather was getting uncomfortable out there. So that was kind of one of the reasons he wanted to come back to Maryland on the East Coast. But Justo, what like I said, the best branch depends on what you're trying to do. If you're looking into stuff like tech, IT, cybersecurity, then you're looking at Army, Air Force, Space Force. If you're looking to like combat, Army, Marines, uh, If you're looking to travel, Navy. um, if it depends on what your specific interests are. So I'm going to end this soon unless anyone else has any opinions about best branch. Okay, like I said, veteran. Sorry, it's backwards, but you can actually get these from Mission Barbecue for those here in America. I don't think Mission Barbecue is overseas. Mission Barbecue is like it's a restaurant that specifically caters to veterans and law enforcement officers. And on Veterans Day, they always do great stuff. They do stuff on all the military holidays: Veterans Day, Memorial Day, and Armed Forces Day. And I think for the specific branches, like they all have Marine, the Army has the Army Day, Marine Day, Navy Day, Coast Guard Day, all of those. All of them, uh, like the Mission Barbecue caters to all of them, and the food is delicious. I didn't even know about them until my job was catered by them, like 6 years ago, 7 years ago. They catered they catered a function we had at my job at the time. And I was like, man, this food is delicious. But I didn't know who Mission Barbecue was, much less that they actually catered to service members. But they specifically cater to service members. And like I said, on those holidays, they'll give out these lapels. Like you can get this one. They have the regular lapel, or they have the veteran lapel. So, which you can put on a suit if you're feeling particularly patriotic, or you're running for office. So you plan on doing Navy? That's cool. Like I said, when I was 17, I almost joined the Navy, but then I got cold feet and was like, nah, I want to go to college first. Plus, at the time, I had a girlfriend, so I was like, I would. Worst reason ever not to go into the military was, oh, I got a girlfriend, so I want to stay here with her. But that wasn't the only reason. The other reason was I wanted to go straight on to college instead of doing the military. Since, like I said, I was raised on Cosby Show and Different World and thought that the normal route to take after leaving high school was college. So you have to do basic training, right, regardless of which branch you join. Yes, unless and only unless you go in for a direct commission. Folks who go in for a direct commission um, don't do boot camp. Direct commission, you're commissioned as an officer within a specific profession. So like law, like which is JAG in the military. JAG stands for Judge Advocate General. That's the military's legal system. Or medical. Uh, the military has its own, well, specifically the Army, but it caters to all the military, has its own medical school in Bethesda, Maryland. Um, but yeah, if you come in as a professional, you can get a direct commission. Because I almost did that when I was graduating college. Even though my background was just psychology, I could have came in as a unit health administrator. I wish I did that, but the only reason I didn't was because I got um, um, my reserve unit at the time was deployed before I graduated college, so didn't get the chance to do that. And then when I came out of my deployment, I received a medical discharge, so never got to do the direct commission. But for any other reason, yeah, but for any other thing other than direct commission, you will be doing boot camp. So I would suggest if you're not in shape right now, you need to start getting fit, because that will help you in the long run with basic training. But if you're gonna do Navy, you shouldn't have to worry about it too much, because frankly their basic training isn't that tough physically. That is, it's just not, and you guys can fight me on it, but The Navy boot camp was the only place that I saw where people were actually becoming less fit while in boot camp. I've never even heard of that. I didn't even know that was possible to become less fit while you're in boot camp. Run long miles? No, but it will help you. I would say mix it up. You can do long runs on some days and do just wind sprints on other days. You can mix it up. The Navy doesn't require long runs. The only one that requires long runs is the Marines, which is a 3 mile run. I run 6 miles every day, so that wouldn't be a problem for me. But um, the the Marines are the only ones that requires a 3 mile run. The Army requires a 2 mile run, but they also make you do some other stuff because they're under a new fitness standard, the Army combat fitness test, where you have to do sprints and 2 mile run. And but anyway, the Navy, I think they used to have to do their test either on a treadmill or exercise bike. But I do hear that people do have to run around the carrier for their PT, for their physical fitness every morning. I think they run around the carrier on the deck. Um, but you don't have to be in tip top shape in the Navy unless you want to go into a combat position. They, believe it or not, yes, Navy does have some combat position. Stephanie, yes, in my married, yes, Mrs. Contrarian is actually one of them, is actually moderating the stream. I think she's still here with us. You won't see her because she's basically just kicking out people who are being trolls. Noise to Music says I'm also in London. Okay, so like I said, we got like three folks from the British Isles. Why you asking about married though, Stephanie? But yeah, Mrs. Contrarian is in the chat. She'll confirm we're married. Is there a lot of weird trans stuff going on there? Do you mean in America or do you mean in the military? Because nowadays, yes, they do allow transgendered folks to be in the military. I think there's like a right now in a general that this trans. So I'm not gonna say anything bad about it. I'll just say this: when I went in '98, that's when Bill Clinton had started the whole "don't ask, don't tell" policy, which Obama had later um, had ended. But during that era, it was basically, hey, don't tell us your sexual orientation, and we won't ask your sexual orientation, because at least then maybe they've changed the Uniform Code of Military Justice, which is basically the legal system for all of the military and Defense Department. Um, it's called UCMJ, Uniform Code of Military Justice. Back then, like I say, unless it's changed, um, the anal was considered against the rules, and of course we know who predominantly would have engaged in that sort of sexual act. So again, if you under the don't ask, don't tell, as long as you didn't say anything, no one's going to question you about it. I think that was pretty reasonable for the time that they did that. Noise to Music says, blessings from the UK, brother. I pray and wish for nothing but happiness, health, and wealth to you and your loved ones. I appreciate it, Noise to Music. Thank you. And as well to you, I hope all the best for you as well. Donald Trump says, David Goggins, is that you? I don't know who David Goggins is. The name does sound familiar. I'm not a troll. Kyle says, you're a cop. This is the second time I was asked that. No, I'm not a cop. I was asked that when I went to an Asian massage parlor 10 years ago, too. I probably shouldn't be saying that, but hey, I didn't say I did anything bad there. But the therapist did say, are you a cop? I was like, no, I just look like one because I keep my hair cut short and I'm I like to be clean shaved. I'm a pretty straight edge sort of guy. There we go. I knew we would have at least one person say Don Cheadle. Trust me, I wish I was Don Cheadle with his money and and fame, but no. You're not gonna find Don Cheadle doing a vertical live stream with only like 900 subs. He'll he'll guaranteed have like 3 million subs, if not more. Ray Roberts says Marine 3 mile run in 18 minutes, 20 pull ups, 100 crunches in 2 minutes. Oh yeah, I forgot they did start doing crunches instead of sit ups. You sure it's 20 pull ups though? And actually, I think they can. So for their PT test, I think they can choose either the push ups or the pull ups. But you're saying they have to do 20 to qualify? Because I don't think it's 20. You could be right. I'm sorry. Or are you just, yeah, I don't know. It could be 20 pull ups to qualify. But that sounds like a lot for to qualify. I'm thinking it's more like 12 or something like that. Juice Dope says, the woke U.S. military dropped and give me 20 gender porn. It didn't used to be like that. The military used to be the most conservative part of the government, and it still kind of is. They like the people who are quote unquote woke, um, are they're the minority of the military. Trust me, I know because I was a progressive dude back when I was in the military, and I got teased for it. Granted, that was 25 years ago, but even still, the military has always been like a socially conservative institution. That's not going to change just because certain presidential administrations want to put forward certain enlisted personnel or officers who present a certain narrative. They're those folks are still the minority of the military, even if you see them on camera. They're being on camera for the very fact that they're not people that you often see in the military, and they need those sort of faces to recruit those people who otherwise wouldn't join the military, because the military is still a very socially conservative institution. So they get those few folks with the blue hair, and yes, this general or colonel, whoever, or admiral, whoever it was, had like blue or purple hair and was trans. They get these very few folks they have that's in the military and put them, on Front Street for everyone to see, so they can use them as an advertising tool to those sort of folks like that person who otherwise wouldn't join the military. So Mr. Katrina, I'm still here multitasking, working from home, listening and monitoring chats on here. So there you go, guys. My wife is here. She does exist. And she and I will be doing some content in the future. We're actually waiting until I get monetized, and then you're gonna be seeing a lot more of her. I had said 2 years ago that I wasn't gonna really show her on my channel until I got monetized, just because, unlike other YouTubers, I'm not gonna use my wife as a to get eyeballs. I think that's kind of declasse. Like, you see some of these YouTube vloggers that um who make themselves look kind of tawdry in my eye because they have their girlfriends or wives on their videos scantily dressed, just to get get more traffic. And I'm not going to do my stuff that way by having Mrs. Contrarian do that on camera. And even when you do see her on camera, she's not going to be like scantily dressed or anything like that. Some of these YouTube vloggers, these girlfriends of theirs, are women who were, and I'm talking about the passport bros, particularly those in Thailand. I'm not going to mention anyone in particular, but if you know who I'm talking about, then you know. But some of these passport bros in Thailand have these girlfriends who are like former massage therapists. You know what sort of massage therapists they are in Pattaya, because Pattaya is like the biggest red light district in the world for sex mongers. So we know what sort of massage therapy they do, or their former bar girls, or some even a former porn star. I'm not gonna say which is doing what, but again, not hard to figure out. Forrest Whitaker. I went, how, Winston? dude, I'll have to put on like 200 more pounds to look remotely like Forrest Whitaker. Plus, I can focus both my eyes. See this? Both my eyes are focused. I'm not Forrest Whitaker. I don't. You got the one squinty eye looking like Popeye, like. I don't think I look anything like Forrest Whitaker. Like I said, give me a squinty eye and 200 pounds more weight, maybe, maybe. Rob says I robbed Afghan drug lords of their black tar heroin and handed it to the DA and then it disappeared. I don't know what to say about that. I don't know what sort of missions you were running. um, but Ray Roberts says that's the max score. Okay, so okay, that's what you have to max. So you're talking about the okay. That's why I was like that. I was like that can't be the qualifying score. That's the max score. Okay, yeah, I wasn't gonna say what the max is because I personally I don't know, and then they keep changing, and then I notice it will change based on gender and age as well. So the older you get, the 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 easier it is to max than as a younger person. Like so, for instance, in the army, Ray, when I went in '98, I could never get my 300 max because to max the army PT test, you had to get 300. So you, which meant for the three tasks, you had to get 100 on each, 100 on the for push-ups, 100 for sit-ups, and 100 for the 2 mile run. To get 100 for the push-ups, you had to do 100 push-ups. To do 100 for 100, for the sit-ups, you had to do 100 sit-ups. Usually I could get those. It was the run. I couldn't do the run because the run to get 100, you had to get the 2 mile run in under 11 minutes and 56 seconds. And that was just insane. I'm like, 11 minutes and 56 seconds? Shit. Like, I came, like, the closest I came was like 13 minutes and some change. And later on, they changed it and made the max easier because they were saying that most males weren't able to max the PT test where the women were because their standards were so much easy. We used to we used to we used to make running jokes about the female PT test saying they could smoke and be pregnant and still pass their PT test, which wasn't that far from the truth to be honest. Like during my 2 mile runs, after I would finish, I would keep running and like help them. I'd be like, "Come on, let's go, let's keep going, let's keep going." When they were ready to quit, they're on like their second or third lap, and they're like, "I'm like, come on, let's go, let's keep moving." So I'll finish my 2 mile run after passing the test because that's the last part, and then I'll keep running laps with these girls to to motivate them to finish their test, and they would finish like they would have finished like their 2 mile run in like I don't know like 24 25 minutes or something and they passed. Meanwhile, like we had to come in under like 15 minutes, so whatever. But yeah, I never got down to 11 minutes and 56 seconds. Later they changed it where it was like a 71 push-ups, 71 sit-ups, and like a 13-minute 2 mile run, which was I think more reasonable. So CJ Johnson says 10 plus minimum. So yeah, that's I thought that was more like the case. I said it was gonna be like either 10 or 12. It couldn't be 20. 20 is the max, which makes sense. I can do 20 pull-ups. So like I said, if you want to drop money in the cash app, I'll definitely do show you my capabilities. If people want to see how many push-ups I can do, cash at me, I'll do it. If you want to see how many pull-ups I can do, cash at me. If you want to see how many sit-ups I can do, cash at me. If it was another exercise you want to see me do, cash at me. If you want to see me doing some different sorts of aerial kicks, cash at me. So laugh out loud. These guys are just naming every famous celebrity and saying you look like him. Yeah, like Forrest Whitaker, that is a huge stretch. I don't know if you know who Forrest Whitaker is, Juice Dope, but he's been around since like the early 80s. He's also a director. The dude has always been overweight, so I'm like, I don't know how they got that comparison because I've literally never been overweight, not even as a kid. I've always been scrawny. I had to work out to maintain my weight. So it's like, Forrest Whitaker, that I could see the Don Cheadle thing, even though I still don't think I look anything like the dude. But at least that's more reasonable than Forrest Whitaker. Like I said, when I was younger, people used to say I looked like Omar Epps. I don't know if people know who that is. Omar Epps is the guy. The first movie he was in was Juice, with like Tupac. Um, then he's been in a bunch of movies like Love and Basketball. Um, Too many other movies to mention. He was in that TV show House MD. I think he's in some current show. He was in. He was in another TV show. And the most recent thing he did was he was on that 50 Cent show, Kanan, which is like one of his Power Universe series for people who watch Powers on Stars. Omar Epps played the father of Kanan. So, Ray Robinson's never follow unlawful order. Very true, but as you and I know, the caveat to never following an unlawful order is you better make damn sure that it's unlawful, and you better be damn sure you can prove that it is. That's the caveat, right? That's always the caveat that they don't they don't tell you. Yeah, they always say you never follow unlawful order, but on the pragmatic side is, do you know for sure it's an unlawful order and that you can prove it? So, yeah, it was some blue-haired trans general or admiral. I'm not even making this up. Like, you might think I'm like exaggerating or trying to be funny, but no, I saw this person and I'm like, okay, this is what the military is doing. And if that's all you saw, you might, for some people they might be like, oh, cool, the military is being more inclusive. For other people, it'd be like, oh God, the military is now a joke. Luckily, I will inform you that those sort of folks are the minority. The majority of people in the military are still just red-blooded folks who's always joined the military, because the military attracts a certain type of folks, the type of people who would take gender studies and be out protesting all day are not the same sort of folks that's going to join the military. But when you do see a few of them, they make for good TV. Dorian D says they ain't saying this, but I am real military MAGA. Okay, we will surpass always. Yeah, so I'm saying, like, yeah, you got a few very left leaning folks who might be LGBTQSIPAA plus in there, but they are the minority. So Juice says, I think Goggins was like 300 pounds when he joined, and now he's 180 pounds. Who is Goggins? So that's because someone else said, "What's up, David Goggins?" And I don't know who David Goggins is. They went to Thailand looking for a massage and then came out married. Mm. Dorian D says, you caught, huh? Winston Smith says, your wonky eye reminds me of Forrest Whitaker. Which wonky eye? It might be just the angle that I'm facing here, but both my eyes are pretty equal. I don't have a squinty eye like Popeye or Forrest Whitaker. It might just be at the angle that I was holding the phone, so I could rest my arm. Juice says 100 push-ups straight on the time. Like, yeah, 100 push-ups straight. So you have 2 minutes to complete as many push-ups as possible. You're not allowed to rest. You can get into the front lean and rest position, and you can recover for a few seconds, and then you continue your push-ups. But once you leave that front lean and rest position, the standard push-up position, then you're considered done. So you can't get out the front lean and rest position and then go back and continue push-ups. Is how many you can do straight without coming out of that push-up position, which we call the front lean and rest. Um, Ray Robler says, I subscribe. Appreciate it, brother. What's the food like in the military? Oh, so again, that's going to depend on the branch. Like people always joke up. My Marines in the chat can tell you they always get joked about because they say they eat because people say they eat crayons. As far as I know, none of them eat crayons, but I don't even know where that joke started, other than to say that that they are pretty much are just savages. But as far as I've heard the Air Force has the best food. And I don't know whether that's a rumor or is true just because they have higher housing standards than all the other branches of the military. Um, and I'm assuming nowadays that includes Space Force as well. Like Space Force and Air Force is about equivalent, since Space Force literally came out of Air Force 4 years ago. Uh, but I've heard Air Force and by extension Space Force probably have the best food. Um, Worse, I heard, was probably Navy, but that's going on rumors because I've never served in the Air Force or the Navy, so I can't really say. But allegedly, Air Force has the best. Allegedly, Navy has the worst. Juice still says, "Yeah, I've seen a few Forrest Whitaker movies. Now you look different." Yeah, like I'm saying, I look nothing like the dude. He's a heavy set guy with a squinty eye. I don't have a squinty eye. Like his eye, when I say squinty, it's like Popeye, and I think that's I don't know if that's from an injury he had when he was younger, or it's from or it's something neurological. I don't know, but it's very it's a very distinct look that he has. Adrian Rawls says, "I'm not sure who you are or how I got to your live, but you seem cool." Thanks, Adrian. Thanks for chiming in. She says, maybe in the eyes you look like Omar and Don, but you have your own look. Thank you. I don't think I look like anyone. I don't know. I guess all black boys get compared to someone because we grow up under all these celebrities. So I've heard everything people said when I was a kid, like Big Daddy Kane. I don't think I looked anything like Big Daddy Kane. One girl said Eddie Murphy, but she thought Eddie Murphy was sexy, so she was actually complimenting me. So I'm like, I'll take it because she was hot. A bunch of people said Omar Epps, both one of my best friends at the time and a few girls. So I was like, okay. I mean, I don't consider him a ugly looking brother, so I'll take it. Don Cheadle, I won't say he's ugly, but he and I don't look alike. Then it was also the guy. I can never remember his name. He started off on he's a black guy, started off on a soap opera back in like the 80s, 90s, and then he was in several movies. He was the boyfriend of Jada Pinkett in this movie Set It Off, and he also played the husband on Agents of Shield to the Chinese woman Ming Na Wen. I met her in person. She's cool in person, but he played her husband, and he's played, I think in some Tyler Perry movies. I cannot remember his name, but people kept saying I look a lot like him, especially when I was younger. Can't remember his name. King Toffer said what's up to King Toffer. One time I fell asleep mid push up. Were you in a service when this happened, or just doing calisthenics at home? The only time I fell asleep while like doing physical activity was rucking, and this was in boot camp. Part the last hump of the last hump of basic training. We had to do that I think it was like a 6 mile ruck, and we did the 6 mile ruck after running an obstacle course. Yeah, so we did. So yeah, I think we did like a 6 mile ruck after we did the obstacle course, or we did, or no, we did a 6 mile ruck up to the endurance obstacle course after doing our 3 day field training exercises at FTX, and we were all falling asleep while we were while we were marching. It was hilarious because everyone kept just bumping into each other's rucksack, like we were all like, and it was hilarious. Like just walking, you have your you got your M16 in hand, um, and you're just marching, falling asleep while doing so. It was hilarious because that's how tired. Because we didn't get to sleep during the FTX exercises, other than like maybe 1 or 2 hours at max throughout those 3 days. That actually prepared me for college when I had to cram for 3 days for my finals. I stayed up 3 days in the library just cramming because I didn't study that whole almost that whole semester. So I crammed for like my 5 courses without sleeping. I slept maybe once for like 2 hours out of those 3 days. And that's only because one of the guys in the library kicked me out and said, "Hey man, you falling asleep." And which they do for everyone, like during finals and midterms, when they catch people falling asleep, they'll just ask them to go back to their dorms or wherever they at instead of sleeping in the library. So that 3 day that 3 day bivouac followed by the 6 mile ruck back, then immediately had to do a, a obstacle course and then do a 2 mile run back to the barracks. Whew, that was fun. I'm not gonna even lie. Like some of you like you're crazy. It was to me that was fun. As long as you feed me, I can have fun anywhere. And most people hated the MREs. I loved them because people was giving me their MREs. They was like, "Man, I can't eat this stuff anymore." I was like, "Give it to me. I'll eat it." Shit, tearing those MREs up. So I didn't care about sleep. I was having fun. Regular Point says, "Don't forget the light." Yes, sir. Thanks for reminding them. How long have I been in the military? 6 years, from '98 to was it 6 years from '98 to 2004. And I only came out because I got medically discharged. Otherwise, I probably would have stayed in and did probably at least 20, if not 25, which means I would have been just coming out like last year if I stayed in the full 25. Justo says, I think Goggins did Hell Week in the Marines and served for a lot of years. That name sounds so familiar, but I just don't remember who Goggins is. I'm going to later Google it. Actually, I can got my other phone. I'll Google it right now while we're talking, guys. I can't ask Mrs. Contrarian because I know she wouldn't know. Like she doesn't know American stuff like that. I end up teaching her a lot of stuff about American pop culture. Okay, David Goggins, American runner. There's a black dude. Okay, 49 years old, is a retired U.S. SEAL. Does the ultra marathon. I plan on doing a marathon this year. Uh, Interestingly enough, I want to do the Marine Marathon because it's considered one of the easiest marathons for beginners, which will be held in Arlington, Virginia this year, I think in October. I want to do that one. There's going to be one held here in Baltimore, but they said it's not for beginners. So I'm not going to step into my first marathon doing a hard one, especially in the midst of Baltimore. I don't want to do that. So, okay, David. Yeah, this guy looks fit. He looks every bit of someone who was a former SEAL team member. Ultra distance cyclist, triathlete, public speaker, author of 2 memoirs, and inducted into the International Sports Hall of Fame for his achievements in sport. Was someone saying I look like him? Because I wish, like, this is a fly cat right here. And no Diddy, but I can say someone's fly looking brother. But I'm not gonna say someone's attractive or anything like that. We can say that for Diddy and Meek Mills and Drake. The male BBLs. Anyway, let me stop. Wasn't Don Cheadle on Soul Plane? Uh, he might have been. I never watched that movie. When that movie came out, it became sort of like a prestige, a point of prestige to say I'm never going to see that movie when it came out in like '03 or '04. Like a bunch of me and my college friends was like, I'm not going to see that. That just makes black people look stupid. Even though we literally watched like a dozen other movies that were probably just as bad, like Scary Movie or stuff like that. But Soul Plane was where we drew the line. But I don't know if he was in it. I know people like Kevin Hart was in it, which is I think the first time people ever saw Kevin Hart. Don Cheadle was in stuff before that, like in the '90s. Like I remember he played Sammy Davis Jr. in a movie about the Rat Pack. That was like the first time I remember seeing him in like a movie, and he nailed Sammy. He studied Sammy Davis Jr. because he had him down to a T. If if sorry if people don't know who Sammy Davis Jr. was or the Rat Pack. The Rat Pack was a bunch of musicians and actors back in like the '60s, and the leader being Frank Sinatra and all his friends like Dean Martin, um, uh, one of the members of the Kennedy family. He was also cool with John F. Kennedy himself. He used to call him Jack, as like he was just friends with the president at the time. I think they both talked about banging Marilyn Monroe. Sammy Davis was one of their friends. He uh, he was a black guy but of Jewish faith, um, and had a was in an interracial relationship when interracial relationships were still illegal in most parts of the country at the time. So that's I think the first role I saw Don Cheadle in back in like the mid '90s. So C.D. Johnson says he was in Air Force and later the Navy. Okay, he got injured in buds a few times. Finally made it through. Yeah, MREs are good. It reminds me of a school cafeteria food. I won't. If well, that might be an insult to either school cafeteria food or to MREs. I can't say. Well, I, I, I can't say which. School. It depends on what type of food you got at school. I remember the little brick pizzas, and I love those things. I still love those to those days. Like I'll still sometimes go to the supermarket in America. I haven't seen them when I'm in the Philippines, but in America they still got the Elio's pizzas, school lunch pizzas. I still buy those today. BBL Drizzy. I can't get over that. Kendrick slayed that man. Let's not even get. We might have to do a whole different live stream on that one, guys. but to back to your point, Juice though. So I'm still mad at myself. I told my wife this like a million times. I'm mad that there was a thing that the army was doing like 9 years, no, about 9 years ago, where they were testing out new MREs and they were actually giving it out to free for people. Not only were they free, but they were paying you to eat MREs. The only thing was you could eat nothing but those MREs for that certain time period, and they wanted people to judge all the new type of MREs they had coming out because they were updating the type of meals they had. And the only so you were getting paid to get free food, and the only caveat would be that that's all you could eat. That's fine. I was like, I'm prior service. I can do that. Plus, I'm getting free food. I could take that to like think I could just pack an MRE in my satchel when I go to the office every day at work. Um, they're so quick to cook. Plus, most of the time, like when we were eating MREs in the service, most of us didn't waste the time in actually heating up our food. We just ate it right out the pouch. Plus, with my bug out bag, I could have kept a few of those MREs as extras and stuck them in my bug out bag at the time. So I wish I did that. I wish I did that when they did that 10 years ago because it was free food. You got paid for it. It's a win-win. I don't know why I didn't do it. I think the only reason I didn't was because I thought I would get tired of eating it every day. But yeah. Justo says Soul Plane had a lot of people on there. Kevin Hart, Method Man, Snoop Dogg, Terry Crews, Lil Jon, and I think Don Cheadle did a few funny scenes. One scene he was having sex and the plane was about to eject. I guess they were both about to eject, right? But yeah. um, yeah, I like school cafeteria food too, especially when I lived in Illinois. There was a different, the quality of the food was different than here in Baltimore. Like, we were getting the stuff that, like, we would get tacos, we were getting uh, gyros, or some people might say gyros. We were getting that for lunch. Um, all sorts of stuff. Like, the food was pretty good, and this, in a little Midwest suburb. The food wasn't as good here in Baltimore, but I still liked it. Like, I love the brick pizzas. Everyone loved Chicken Day. Like, people would go crazy on Chicken Day. Not to reinforce stereotype about black people, but yeah, when it was Chicken Day, it was off the hook. People would be trading. They like, yo man, let me get that chicken titty for this leg and wing. They was like, nah man, I need my chicken breast. They was like, man, give me that chicken titty. Stop. I know I'm bad. I'm bad. Then one of my one of my aunties, she was sort of like a grandma. Um, she used to work as a lunch lady, so I always loved lunch ladies, um, and the school cafeterias, because it always made me think of my aunt. And I remember this one lady, we used to, we used to joke with her because her name was Miss Jones, and we would go in the lunch line like, me and Mrs. Jones, Mrs. Jones. you know, so I love school cafeteria. And then later, when you had money, you could buy like the extra stuff. You could get like I was greedy. I would get the regular school cafeteria lunch, and then get the a la carte stuff too. Like, I don't know if your school had that, but you had like your regular school lunch for that day, and then you had the a la carte stuff that you could buy, like the chips and the sandwiches and sodas and all that sort of stuff. So I would get that, the a la carte, and my regular school lunch, and be groggy by the next period. Sorry guys, I just had my connection just glitched for a second, so I hope everybody's still there. If not, I'm sorry. But Juice Dope said beef patties, square pizzas, cheese sticks, tater tots. Yeah, all the regular stuff: peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, chicken nuggets, fried chicken breasts, fried chicken strips. So TRW says, if all you had was $500 to $1,000 to your name, what kind of business would you create to make money? Depends. I mean, with that amount of money, you can establish a LLC, like many other people during the pandemic, when we was getting that free money from Trump. I used that money and established the LLC, which allows you to set up whatever sort of business you want. Only thing I didn't do, which I should have done because I would have qualified, was I didn't get that TPP money, or whatever you call it, the PPP loan. Didn't do that. That would have went right along with the establishing my LLC if I got that PPP loan. But 500,000 to $1,000, it depends on your particular talents. I mean, if you can cut hair, maybe you could do that. Um, I, I wouldn't be able to tell you, but like I said, whatever talents you do have, you can use that money and establish an LLC, and then have that be able to protect your business, whatever little side hustle that you have. And you can do that pretty easily through, like, I think, was it LegalZoom and Busy.com. Do they have barbershops in the military? Oh, absolutely. The funny thing is, when you went to boot camp, they charged you for the haircuts, even though you didn't have a choice of what haircut. They just cut it all off. um, but yeah, they definitely have barbershops in the military. But most of the time, after boot camp, when you're in advanced training, or when you go to your permanent duty station, most people go to the local barbershops that's off. off post or off base. Most people don't choose to go to the military barbers. They go to the ones off base. But I'm gonna end this in like 5 minutes, Mrs. Contrarian. If I go over that, can you remind me that I went over 5 minutes because I want to end this before midnight. Uh, I'm gonna grab a bite to eat before I go to bed because I usually don't stay up this late. I usually go to bed around 9:30 because I like to get up around 4:30 a.m. and run around 5 a.m. And I haven't been doing a good job of that lately. But hopefully, Mr. Contrarian can give me a warning if I go over 5 minutes here. Unless I get some interesting questions, then I won't mind. But to bring it back into the fold from the original question was, what is the best branch and why? I said from my perspective, it was the Army. And my reasons being was that it was the oldest branch of the military. It's the biggest branch of the military, U.S. military, that is. Um, it receives the most funding. Um, it offers the most variety of jobs of all the branches. And for for those who are into the combat aspects, it has the most special operations um, of all the branches, and it has the most tier one units. The tier one units. So, it, some people might have been confused. What are tier one units? The military guys will know. So there is an unofficial hierarchy of combat within the military. So at the base, you have conventional warfare, which is like your infantry, right? And then you have three tiers of special mission units. Your tier three unit, say for like the army, will be like your your airborne and stuff like that. So with the Marines, their tier three unit is going to be like force recon, division recon, and force recon. Um, and like I said, and army is going to be like um, airborne and air assault. Um, then you get to the tier two unit. Tier two units are your special ops team. So again, for the army, you have like your Green Berets, or which is just Army Special Forces. It's just Green Berets are just called Army Special Forces. Then you also have Army Rangers. And some people confuse Army Rangers with people who are just Ranger qualified. They're not the same thing. To be an Army Ranger, you have to be assigned to a 75th Army Ranger Regiment. And there's other special forces within the Army. So I'm just going to name those two for simplicity's sake. And the Marines, they're only special forces they have are the Raiders, which were originally Force Recon, and they were taken away from the Marines and given to Special Operations Command, and made the Marine Raiders. And originally, the Marines were the last branch of the military to get their own Special Operations team, which was in 2006. They took that Force Recon and made the Marine Raiders. And another factoid is, unlike all the other special forces, the Marine Raiders only take Marines, whereas Special Forces and all the other branches will take people from other branches of the military. The Marine Raiders will only take other Marines who qualify. So that's your tier two unit. I mean, sorry, that's your tier two. And like I said, tier three was like air assault, air patrol for Army, and force recon and division recon for Marines. And you get to tier one. Tier one are like the tip of the spear. Um, and the Army's only one that has three tier one units. There's only 5 tier one units within the whole military, of which we know about. And out of those 5, 3 of them are in the Army, which is Delta Force, which is also called CAG, um, which is considered the very tip of the spear, the best of the best of the best. And you also have uh, what do they call it? Ranger Reconnaissance Company. They that's also a tier one unit, and you have like I think the Night Stalkers. So those are the three tier one units within the army. With tier, there's no tier one in the military. I mean, in the Marines, but there's tier ones in the Navy. So above the Navy SEALs, the tier one unit is DevGru, which formerly used to be called SEAL Team 6. And then there's a tier one unit in the Air Force. And there's one with Coast Guard, I believe. Yes, Coast Guard has special forces guys. I know. But yeah. In any case, so for all those reasons, that's why the Army is the best. It's the most versatile. It's the oldest, the largest, the most well funded, the most versatile in jobs, and has the most combat ready teams of all the branches. So let me get back to the comments. Then I'm gonna end this, guys. Juice Up says I've been doing push-ups, 20 reps per set every time I catch myself not doing anything. That's what's up. I would do it to TMF, total muscular failure. Do supersets to to muscular failure. You can get more out of that. Okay. And make sure you concentrate on form. Don't just do those burnouts. Get full extension all the way up, all the way down. You'll get more out of it, and it'll actually make you stronger as a result. That you can do more. You can do more reps when you correct your form, because your muscles will be able to stay. You'll develop that your muscles to be able to stabilize themselves while performing those exercises when you do the correct form and do full motion. Imran Junior DeSanto says, "Do you agree with the existence of HOAs?" You talking about like with like home, you talking about in communities? Because I kind of hate HOAs. I think they're kind of pointless. If that's what you're talking about, unless you mean something else by HOA, but they're just a fact of suburban living nowadays. Like I have a HOA here in the where I stay here in Baltimore County, and we have a homeowner association over where I have my actual house in the Philippines with my wife. We have a homeowners association, and both seem to be kind of pointless, to be quite honest. Where did I serve? So my permanent duty station was outside of Fort Detrick in was it Frederick, Maryland, and then for a short time at Walter Reed when I was trying to switch to a medical MOS, but I was pulled back into my previous unit when they got called for called for overseas deployment. But so Fort Detrick and briefly at Walter Reed in DC. Yeah, I don't serve anymore. I've been out since 2004. CJ Johnson says, I heard Delta Selection is a 20-mile land navigation course with 120 pounds on your back. I forgot. I've watched a YouTube thing that gave that tells you their assessment test. And there's this one YouTuber who's a former Navy guy. He goes around and does different military challenges. I forgot the guy's name. He makes really cool content. Um, but I forgot whose assessment test he did. It was either Delta Force, Rangers, or Navy SEALs. It was one of them. But yeah, the Delta's selection process is phew, bad. Um, but the thing I will give credit to Delta Forces or CAG, as they like being referred to now, is that they'll take people from any branch, and you don't have to already have been from some tier two special forces unit to get into Delta Force. If you have a particular skill that they find will add to their mission, you can become part of Delta Force. Because not everyone in those special forces teams are out in the field. Some of them, they just like just like the regular military, these special mission units, they still need people who are like cooks and do logistical stuff. Um, so, but they're still part of those. They're still part of those regiments. So, like you might have someone who's a 75th Ranger, but they are a cook. They still get to rock the patch. They're still part of the regiment, so they're still a ranger. But they may not be someone who goes into the field. But don't think they're a slouch either. TRW says, I watched some of your shorts and saw you throw a roundhouse followed by a spinning roundhouse kick on a speed bag. Yeah. Yeah. So most people wouldn't believe that because, like I said, I don't really show my skills on these live streams, so people might think I'm bluffing. Can you say I can't breathe? Don't get it. I don't know if you're talking about doing a military test or you're just trying to be funny. How do you remain so fit at your age? I run 10 kilometers every day. Um, and I usually do that under an hour. Um, I'm still trying to get better at it. The fastest I've been is like 53 minutes and some change. I want to get it to it's like I want to get down to 15 minute take 10K run or under that. Um, I also do shadow boxing. I do calisthenics and I do training. Oh, Mr. Contrarian gave me the warning this past midnight. Thanks, Mahal. Um, so I'm about to go, guys. Um, anyway, I got more YouTube shorts, guys, that you can check out if you're interested. I'm going to go. I love the discussion. Um, Thank you to everyone who served as well, for folks who are entertaining going into the service. Um, Google is your friend. Look up some of that information about joining, some of the things they're looking for people who want to enlist or even get their commission. Uh, for folks who don't know where to start, you can just find out who your local recruiter is and go from there. But I appreciate everyone chiming in. I appreciate everyone jumping in after I had to end the first live stream because I had to go and I had a bad connection at the time. But and if you guys don't mind, hit the like, subscribe, share, do the notifications. I normally don't ever say that in my videos, but why not? And if you guys want me to do any sort of particular physical feat, um, in my description you will find links to my Cash App or my Venmo. Hit me up on the Cash App or Venmo. I will do whatever sort of skills you guys want to see me doing, whether it's pull-ups, push-ups, um, flying kicks, all that sort of stuff, or you want to see me spar, uh, all that sort of stuff. Because I did actually have one video where I was going to spar someone, a Kyokushin master. I guess you could call him master. He's like a 6th degree black belt or something like that. It didn't go as I planned, and because he didn't know how to spar, to be honest. So, and my friend my cousin who recorded it didn't know how to send it to me. So whatever. If I do another sparring, I'll record it so you guys can see. But if you have anything specific of me that you want me to do on video within reason, then hit me up on the Cash App or the Venmo and I'll do it. Got it? Again, thanks everyone for jumping in. For folks who's the first time they ever seen me, I appreciate you guys checking in. Um, and thanks, Mrs. Contrarian, for moderating for me again. She's multitasking, guys. She's working while doing this. So, um, all right, guys, that's it for me. See you later.